Chargers lost to the Saints yesterday in a defensive battle, but it's the preseason. We don't care about the wins and the losses. We care about the players. So who did well and who struggled? There were a lot of good takeaways from this game, so let's stay bolted up. Let's like the video and subscribe if you enjoy this content, because now I'm going to start talking to you about Tuipulotu. Tuli had a great game against Trevor Penning, using his speed well and then converting that speed into power at the right times. Tuli looks fast. He's a smart player. There's this one series on second down. He had a TFL where he used his speed to do a swim move on Trevor Penning, tackled the running back in the backfield. Then third and long on the very next play, he converted speed to power, knowing that Trevor Penning would be watching out for that inside move that Tuli just beat him on. That is a veteran move by Tuli. He probably learned that from Joey Bosa, because on the broadcast, Dan Fouts was saying that he was so eager to learn from Joey that he kept calling him sir when he was talking to him. Tuli just needs to learn from Joey to go after the ball when he gets a sack, because Joey Bosa is the master of the ball sack. Tuli has flashed in 2 games now and training camp, so he has consistently proven himself and flashed on only 15 plays, and 3 of those 15 plays against the Saints, he was dropped into coverage. Now we got another rookie, Daiyan Henley, man. He has a nose for the football. He plays so fast, sideline to sideline. They blitzed him a few times and it worked every single time. On the Tuli pressure on third down, Daiyan was blitzing with no regards at all for the quarterback's health. He was attacking the gaps well, outside of one play that I saw where he worked down the line a little farther than he should have, but it didn't really result in a big run play. He is a very rangy linebacker, confident player that secures his tackles well. In coverage, he played pretty well, but did allow 5 catches, and one of them, this was the worst one. It was on a wheel route. The running back was going a wheel route left sideline, and he did a double move. Daiyan Henley bit on it, and he caught the ball. The running back caught the ball inside about the 10 or the 5-yard line, led to a Saints touchdown. Also, Blake Lynch, man, stood out to me as having pretty good instincts in the running game and being a very secure tackler. He's probably the best on the team in that regard, and PFF graded him as the best too. Jerrod Clark, he had several pressures and one that led to a Chris Hinton sack. He had a good run stop in the second quarter where he didn't allow a single yard of push from the offensive line. The one play he allowed a run past him, he was being held and he couldn't get his arms out to make the tackle. It ran right by his right side. He has shown the ability to rush the passer, which was the question for him coming out of Coastal Carolina. It's part of the reason that he went undrafted, but the Chargers look like they got something here in Jerrod Clark. He's not going to have a ton of sacks and flashy plays like Aaron Donald, but he's going to clog up the run and create interior pressure from time to time, which is exactly what we have been missing on this team for years. And now let's go to the secondary. JT Woods flying around the field. He looks so instinctive. He was targeted 5 times, only allowed 2 catches with the second best PFF grade on defense. He's converting everything he's shown in practice, good and bad, to the game field. Even the pass breakups, he extends his arms in like the exact same way, but he had a poor angle on a screen pass to Lynn Bowden for a big game. He's showing great range and a feel for zone coverage, but he is inconsistent in his tackling. He needs to learn how to take better routes to the football carrier. Sometimes JT is just too fast for his own good. He's just going to zoom straight down the field recklessly, reckless abandonment, man, without even thinking, and he ends up missing the tackle. Overall, though, for him, it was a great day in coverage, and he's not afraid to come downfield for a run stop, which he did have 2 in this game. Just needs to be more in control of himself, and then he is going to take a huge leap. Now let's talk about Raheem Layne. He looked sticky in coverage. He had a pretty silently good game. He reminds me a bit of Adrian Phillips, because he's been on this team for a little while now, but he just keeps getting a little bit better every game and every season. I would not be surprised to see Raheem not only make this roster, but make some plays in the secondary if we ever need him out there in the season due to injury, which, you know, hopefully we don't. Hopefully Alohi Gilman is healthy. I know JT Woods makes the flashier plays, but Raheem Layne, man, he doesn't even allow an opportunity to throw the ball, so he isn't able to make those plays. That's what I saw from this past game. And also Deane Leonard had a pretty quietly good game too. He was the highest graded defender on this team, the best coverage defender by a lot. The DB room, man, it's a great position to have depth in, and these two can provide that. Also, Matt Hankins, man, that's another guy who played well. He was targeted 3 times, 0 catches allowed. So I'm going to keep an eye on him in practice and versus the 49ers to see if he can build off of that. And now the bad. On defense, it's mainly just a few players because I was overall impressed with this unit. Tiawan Mullen, he had a good special teams tackle, but on defense, I was not all that impressed, especially considering the other guys that were playing much better. Like we got Deane Leonard, we got Jasir Taylor, even Matt Hankins had more to like on defense in my eyes. I know there were a couple people on Twitter that really had a lot of good to say about Tiawan Mullen on defense. I just wasn't seeing it. I could be convinced otherwise, though. I'm going to have to go back and look at the footage. There wasn't a ton of pass rush like there was this last week. Our highest graded pass rusher, CJ Okoye. Bro, he often was in the right position, but just needed to finish the play or wrap up on a tackle. It's so funny to me that CJ was our highest graded pass rusher in this last game by PFF because he barely even knows what he's doing at this point. He's just going off of pure raw athleticism and talent. It is insane. Michael Jacquet is another guy who struggled versus the Saints. He had a poor change of direction, which led to him getting lost on a couple of plays, and he even let up a big catch for 53 yards because of it. Now on offense, it all sucked. No, I'm kidding. Okay, there were a few good performances. Smartt mainly. He had a really good catch in traffic to start that touchdown drive before the half. Then on the final play in the red zone with the block to spring Easton Stick into the end zone. Smartt, he might be able to jump one of these tight ends, and it looks like it could be Trey McKitty because we basically have not even seen anything out of him yet in this entire season and in this entire training camp, rather, in the preseason. I know that Trey is mostly a blocking tight end, but we just saw Smartt provide a block that led to a touchdown, and we saw him create momentum on the beginning of that touchdown drive by getting a chunk play. He's a former quarterback and wide receiver. We know how Brandon Staley loves those former quarterbacks. We know it on the coaching staff and on the roster. Both Trey McKitty and Smartt are 24 years old. And if the guy who makes this roster is the one that has shown the most in camp this year, then it's got to be Smartt. Are they going to cut ties with Trey McKitty, former 3rd-round pick, after only 2 or 3 seasons? It would surprise me, but also on the other hand, it really kind of wouldn't because we haven't seen anything from Trey McKitty, and Smartt is now playing up to that potential of maybe he's going to be better than Trey McKitty, and we just need to cut ties while we can. Isaiah Spiller showed his strength and elusiveness on an 18-yard run in the red zone. He made 2 guys miss by cutting quickly away from the first one, then that stiff arm on the second one, getting all the way down inside the 5-yard line. Spiller is the exact kind of running back that we need on this team, man. Receiving ability, toughness between the tackles, elusiveness to bounce those runs outside when he needs to, and the ability to make tacklers miss. Now, Derius Davis, he showed toughness with some of the hits that he took, and he made some great body catches. He's really good at doing that, but he also muffed a punt in this game too. So some give and take with him. And remember, at TCU, he muffed 5 punts in his 4-year career. So listen, we got to roll with the mistakes if we're going to roll with that boom touchdown return potential. It's boom or bust with him. We got to roll with Jordan McFadden. Had some good seal-off blocks in the run game. Didn't allow any pressures, which is a lot to ask for in an offensive lineman these days, especially in a preseason game. Also, Zach Bailey continues to impress me. He only allowed 1 pressure that did result in a sack, but he was one of the top graded offensive linemen. He was playing right guard in this game. Zion Johnson and Will Clapp also played well, but everyone else on that offensive line was having a tough night. Elijah Dotson showed some physicality, to say the least, in the run game, but he could not get anything going, mostly because of that offensive line, and he also dropped 2 passes on that final drive when we needed it the most. I wanted to see him build off of that last game and get some momentum to make this roster, but he was held back in this one by the offensive line and lack of a passing game, which leads us into the bad. Easton Stick, Man, Easton just looked uncomfortable all night. Outside of that 1 2-minute drill before the half that he just executed beautifully out of nowhere, he was not poised at all in the pocket. He had to run and scramble on several plays. Often when he would scramble, he committed to running the ball earlier than I would prefer. If he kept his eyes up, then a receiver may have gotten open at times, but we'll never know. He was just running, and then he tucks it almost immediately. The one play that he did have good protection was on a throw to the right sideline where he threw the ball about 5 yards over the head of Terrell Bynum, former USC receiver. He looked so good in the first game, man, but he played so poorly in this one, mostly because of the protection. I mean, Easton Stick was literally playing in the middle of a hurricane in this offensive line. Was getting worked all night, bro. It felt like every single play there was somebody coming in off the edges, and in the run game there was frequently no push for these running backs. Brendan Hymus had probably the toughest night out of this entire unit, but really, man, it was tough all night, and these Saints players were just eating them up all freaking afternoon. Now, can we talk about John Hightower? What happened to him? He had a good catch in traffic in the first half, but then after that, he wasn't great. He didn't run his routes completely. He couldn't create separation very well. There's one play specifically that he should have ran a 10-yard curl, ran about 8 yards, and it caused an incompletion. Another play, he had a false start in the slot with Derius Davis in motion. He didn't look very explosive in his routes like he did sometimes in training camp. And ever since that injury, now that I'm thinking about it, he hasn't really made very many plays in camp or in the games. So I'm wondering if that injury is something that is lingering and something that's bothering him. Something to keep an eye on. So that is all of the good and all of the bad from that Chargers and Saints game. Man, the offensive line. Come on, bro. But if you want to see the good and the bad from the joint practices, you can watch this video right here. I made 3 videos about them. There are so many clips. Lots of good ones in this video. Thanks for watching.